All right, guys, so we're gonna go ahead and get started with the presentation already on what you need to do for the semester exam. It will be the same for the second half. So if you do have to submit work for the second half for next semester, it's gonna be the same thing. The difference is that this semester, you're only gonna incorporate the work that we are submitting for this half. Second semester, you would submit all of it for the entire year. So you will have, of course, double the amount of work, okay, for the second half. So to get started, we're gonna kind of just break down what were the individual projects for this particular class. So I am gonna switch my camera so you guys can see what I'm doing here. And as far as my notes, I had already pinpointed my Art 1s. This is the Painting 3 class. So we're gonna go ahead and break down what you guys are going to need for yourselves. So I have been the type of person that I'm saving all of the work that we've been doing up to date. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull out my entire work here so we can figure out the exact list of what you guys are gonna need. These were some of my extra stuff that I had here from the class previously. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start off with what we were doing for the color blending, because we did do color blending at the very beginning. If you guys don't remember, we were just practicing and understanding the color orders for the time that we're gonna be mixing, which will be on the next project, because we're gonna be using acrylics, okay? So first thing that you're gonna have to submit to me, so you should write your list for those of you guys that are going to submit, so that way you don't get lost and you're organized and you know exactly what you have to submit. So the first one is gonna be the color blending. So color blending practice. And you might have two, because remember you were supposed to kind of do like a practice sheet and then it was over here. So I'm gonna put here as two separate ones. So practice sheet. And then and you were supposed to do the color blending to some type of pattern. So practice on pattern. And these were like a must as far as for the projects and what I graded you for the very, very beginning. After that, we ended up working on the practice. So this was the kind of getting your feet wet when it came to the watercolor. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the second thing that you need to make sure that you upload is the watercolor practice. The third thing, so this is what the watercolor practice looks like. The third thing that you guys were supposed to submit to me is the watercolor in as a landscape. And then after that, you guys were supposed to do this one, which is the underwater. We'll just call it underwater. So we'll put, actually, I think it was jellyfish / bottle, right? We'll title it as it's supposed to be. So jellyfish / bottle assignment. Oh my gosh, I'm going crazy, guys. Sorry. That's my, and I just picked, as soon as I saw it, I knew that was wrong. That's my type of dyslexia. I sounded out. Okay, and then on this one, we've got the cornucopia. And then for 6, we had the portrait. It was the first portrait we did, but it was the one that was loose. So the loose style. And then on this one, we're not going to upload this one yet, because this one we're going to consider it the second half, especially since we haven't necessarily done something like this, like started it and so forth, and we're taking it slow. So I don't want you guys to have to upload it. You do need to upload the outline for the first half, but as far as it counting, it's not going to count for this 6 weeks or this semester, excuse me, it'll count for the second semester, okay? So now that we have that, guys, let's go ahead and take a count. So we're gonna have the color blending, but this is broken down into 2. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 total uploads. So you need 7 total. Now, another thing is you might have more. So we'll put, just in case you guys did some kind of research or whatever the case is over here, You might have more because those of you guys that used a reference, which you should have for this one. So let's put next to right here, we'll put reference. So you needed a reference for this one. This one you didn't need to because you were following me. This one you didn't necessarily need to because you were following me. Same thing for this one. So really the only reference you should have had was for the portrait. So instead of 7, we're going to put 8. This is the final additional number that you're supposed to have because you do need to have that reference, okay? So now that we have our list, let me move these out of the way. I'm going to we'll do the example with one of these. So what you need to do, guys, so let me explain what you're going to do for this. And honestly, this is going to help you guys for the second semester because I did have some people that were not submitting the stuff online correctly to me when you guys are taking your photographs. That's part of the actual grade, is knowing how to upload your stuff correctly when it comes to art, okay? So one thing I noticed, and this was like a thing, not just this class, this is like all of my art classes. When you guys are uploading your work to Google Classroom, I always get students that take photographs, and when you take your photograph, you're not getting the whole thing. Like technically, if you look at it on screen, the way that you see it right now on my camera, you are not seeing it as a full screen on the paper. So when you guys are taking picture, you're cropping it already and you're cropping it in the wrong way. You're supposed to be cropping the entire image if possible. So let's just say I'm looking at it and my camera, to fit the whole thing, I should switch it around to about like here. So that way I can make sure that when I take that photograph, I see all of it. Now, the drawback, of course, is that you're going to have all of these additional sides shown. And a lot of people will just submit the photograph to me like that. However, I need you guys, especially starting on the second actual semester, I need you guys to start taking the photographs correctly. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what you can do for next time. And I already took some photographs of my work, but there's some key points that I'm going to pinpoint when you guys are doing this. And to answer your question really quick, Jennifer, you can just write it on a sheet of paper. This is just for your reference. I will type this out and submit it to you guys on the stream of exactly what you're going to need, just in case. But if you want to write this down because you're organizing yourself already, go ahead and do so, okay? So just in case, the first one is color blending practice, and you should have 2 uploads for that. So it's the practice sheet, like the ones that I showed you, and also the practice on a pattern. You need the watercolor practice, you need the watercolor landscape, you need the jellyfish/bottle assignment, you need the cornucopia, and the portrait of the loose style with also including your reference. That's why there's 8 total, because this was broken down into 2 parts, and this one had a reference with it that you should also submit, okay? So now going back to taking photographs. These are the things that I noticed from people that were submitting stuff online, guys. One of the major things that I noticed is the lighting. When people are taking their photographs of their work to be able to submit online to me, they're taking the photo with the picture, and then wherever the light is coming from, they're getting shadows like on their actual work. So when they're covering the light and you take the picture, you get bad shadows and you're not seeing the picture for what it really is. And you want to be able to submit all of the transitions and the color blending and all that stuff that you guys are submitting to me. So my recommendation when you take your photograph, guys, I have it easy here in the class because I have this little contraption that I'm turning on right now. And you'll see right now, as soon as I submit it, you'll see the light different. And I can play with my lighting. So even if I take a photograph, I can play with the lights and position them to where it would be the best quality possible for me to be able to show on camera with you guys. Plus, if I'm going to take a photograph of it, I want a certain lighting, I can play with that. If you guys don't have this kind of machine at home, which I don't expect everybody to have it, then my recommendation is take your photos next to a window. So if you go next to window lighting, is usually the best lighting for something like this. You have the window, the light coming from the side of the window. And so when you're above it to take the photograph, you're not going to get all these weird, like you see all these shadows that are coming out. You're not going to get that because the light's coming from the side and illuminating it. So when you take your photograph, you're omitting shadows that could be possibly on your piece that is going to make it look different to someone like me who I'm gonna see it online and it's gonna look off, okay? So that's my first recommendation is use window lighting. It could be like for those of you guys that have like French doors or things like that, as long as it's lighting coming from the outside, make sure it's during the day. Sometime, like if you're, depending on the direction also that your window is facing, if you guys get better light in the mornings, take a picture in the morning. If you guys get better light in the afternoon, because depending on the direction your house is pointing and that window is, then take a picture during that time. But just be aware of the lighting. That's the major concern. Okay, so make sure you take your photograph and compare your photo. Like when you open up the photo, so when I come over here, because I already took a photograph of this one, and if I look at the photo here, does my photo look like what's right next to it? So compare it. And if you take the photo and you're like, why does it look so dark here? It's because you weren't using good lighting. So lighting is number one. Make sure you write that note that you guys are doing and making sure that your lighting is proper, okay? Second thing, I had already edited this as far as like cropping it. When people take photographs, it's usually something like this. Look, I'm even standing right here. You can see my legs right here in the picture with my shawl and all this stuff, and then my papers in the background. And I'm still having people that are submitting work like this. I had already edited the other one. So when you're gonna submit to me, make sure that you don't see all those side frames. So you'll go to the edit and you wanna do what's called cropping. Now, if you didn't take the picture 100% right above it, then you might have little areas, but just take it in just a tiny bit. If you have to crop it like a small amount, but just to make sure that your edge looks nice, it's okay. Like it's okay if a little bit gets cut off. You just don't want to take it too crooked. So when you take your photographs, be careful not to take them crooked. Like you want to make sure that when you're putting your phone right on top, that it's as straight as possible. See, if I would have made sure, like when I was taking the photograph, that this was aligned a little bit better, then I wouldn't have to have cut so much of the bottom off. So these are things that I'm just trying to make you guys aware when you take your photographs, okay? So that's the first one. Now, you might have something like this. This was one of the practices. And when I edit this one, be very careful because this is not the way that I was looking at it. When I was doing this, it was actually like this, and I can tell because of my numbers. So if you have a picture, and let's actually get an actual piece. So like this one, for instance, because the real version of this is like this. So when you submit to me, not only do you guys have to crop it, which I'll do right now. So I'll come here and I'll crop the image. So that way it's nice and cleaned up. Bring it down, bring it up a little bit. Not only do you have to crop it, but you also have to rotate it to the correct direction that I'm supposed to be looking at it as you were actually doing this, okay? Now, even before you save it, because all I have to do is click save since I already rotated it. If you're gonna be submitting, so this, make sure you pay attention to this, because if you're gonna be submitting this work through the phone, like you have Google Classroom on your phone, then take the opportunity right now to go to, and I think actually it won't even allow me, I have to save it first. So I'm gonna save it first. And then once I have it saved, take the opportunity to go to your details. So you have to go to details and you're gonna rename the actual picture. So I'm gonna go to edit, and instead of being 2020-12-09-3, because when you guys upload, that's what I see as the title. So instead of doing that, remove the number, and I'm gonna title that one because that one just in general was the color blending practice. So I should title it color blending practice. And when I put that, I hit save and it will automatically be that name. So when you upload it to me on Google Classroom, it'll tell me what that is without having to open it up and look at it, okay? And I had already saved it, so it should stay like that. So now it's already done, like it's already renamed for me, okay? Now, if you're not gonna be uploading through the phone, so that's the way you guys edit. And you can see that I've already kind of edited all my pictures and stuff like that. At this point, for my drawing class and my painting class and even my art ones, if you're not gonna be submitting to the phone, guys, let's say you're gonna email your pictures to yourself so you can do all that stuff on the computer. I'm gonna show you how to do that as well, okay? So let's just say I already edited it. I already know which ones just by looking at it because they're facing the correct way and they're a little bit smaller. So let's just say this one, I'm going to select all the ones at once. So this one, and to make it easier on yourselves, delete the pictures you didn't edit. So just delete them so you already know which ones are which. This one, I'm not going to choose that one because I know it's off because it's not cropped. This one is facing the correct way. This one is cropped. I can tell just by looking at it. Same thing for this one. So let's just say I have all of my ones that I'm going to submit, or I have my 7. Then I hit share. And when I come right here, I'm going to go to my Gmail because that's the one I have linked to my actual phone. I'm not going to show you guys my password. So hold on, let me get on there. So now that I have that, what I'll end up doing is I'm just going to email it to myself. So that way I can open it up on my computer, save them on a folder, and be ready for the day of the final. And I don't have to worry about doing all this on the day of the final. It'll be a lot faster for me if you guys are working on it right now and getting yourselves organized. So I already emailed myself. If you've never sent an email through your phone, it's the same thing. You just put who are you emailing it to yourself. I would just send it to the same thing, my Gmail account, because I can open up Gmail here. And then I'll go ahead and I'll go to the subject and I'm going to put portfolio for painting. I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to do that because I already did it. But for subject, always write something, guys. And I always tell my kiddos, if you're going to bother emailing something to yourself as backup, always title it with something that you would look for it. So if, let's say, in another year, let's just say I'm taking an art class with Mr. Palmenes, and he's like, well, does anybody want to do vase? They want to do a competition. And you're like, me, sir, I want to do it. And he's like, well, you have to prove to me that I'm not going to waste my time and signing you up. I need to see that you can do it. And you're like, oh, well, I have a portfolio that I sent Ms. Palmenes last year. Okay, well, let me see it. You come to your email to try to show it to him because you kept it there for references and you want to look it up. You don't have to go search your entire email. So if you guys are going to bother doing this and email it to yourself, title it with something that you would look for. So you'll put portfolio painting and it'll pop out automatically and you can open it up really fast for them. And you already have all that backed up. So that's what I recommend doing. And I would put portfolio painting 3 or whatever, Ms. Palmenes, however title you want to put it, something that you're going to remember in about a year from now that you're not going to forget. Okay. So let's just say I sent the email and everything goes through. I don't have Signal here. So I actually had to do it right before I started the class. Poor Ashley saw me kind of standing out there to send the email to myself. So I already emailed it to myself. So if you are going to send it to yourself, not to put here, because if, let's say you already saved your images, you don't have to do this because you can just go to like Google Classroom on your phone and upload the images if you already named them the way they're supposed to be named and all that good stuff. But if you are going to email it, because that's the way you know how to do things and it's just faster for you that way, then I'm going to show you guys. So I am going to screen share at this time. So let me screen share my computer so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I know I have my, hold on, let me select the correct. So I'm going to, let's choose this one and share. So I know I've got the gradebook open, but I'll go ahead and I'll close that right now. So you can see my email here. It's okay because it's all school stuff. I have nothing to hide and I never do. I'm a good girl, guys. Okay, so if we're doing this, let me move this off to the screen. So you can see that I emailed all of the pictures to myself. Okay, you can see here all the pictures. These are all the pictures I just sent right now, right before class. And I have all the ones that I'm supposed to have available for myself, minus the reference for this one. That's probably the only one I didn't include, was making sure that I incorporated the reference. Because if you're going to be sending this one to me and you had a specific person that you guys were painting, then make sure that you incorporate also as well as the picture. Okay, because right now you can see all the ones that I have here, and I didn't send that one, but I would include it as well. Okay, so now that I have that, let me go ahead and you'd email it, you open it up, you're gonna download them. So I'm gonna hit the download button on every single one. And it should open up for me. See, they're all coming out, okay? Now, once I have them, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click over here off to the side, and depending on, of course, your because everybody has a different program. It opens up just mine on photos. You're gonna open it up. It should already be cropped and ready to go. And I'm gonna hit save as. Now, I originally had set this up for my Art 1 class. So I'm actually going to create a new folder. I'm going to go to the desktop, right click, go to new folder, and I'm going to title this portfolio. So you always want to write a new portfolio. And I'm instead of art 1, I'm going to put for painting. And I'm going to put 3. And you even notice that I put fall 2020 because you're going to have to do another one for spring. So I might as well just put fall 2020 so I know what it's for. I'm going to open that folder because that's where I want to save it. And then even before I save it, guys, I should title it already. Like if I wanted to put, this was the, I believe the watercolor practice. So let me just put watercolor practice. So I'm gonna go ahead and save it already in that name. Now, if you decide to just click save, so let's say I just go save as, save, close it. And then I go to the next one because I have all these open. So let's go save as, save, close it, save as. So if you're doing this and you're not naming them right in the spot, you can always go back and rename. Okay, so if I come over here, so this is my portfolio right here. I'm going to drag it up here. So if I have all mine, which I didn't save them all, but I'll go back and I will, then I can always rename them here just by right clicking, go to rename. And this is my portrait. And this was the loose style. Oops. And oops, oh, pues ni modo. It's okay. I'll fix it right now. Same thing for this one. Rename. And what's this one? It was landscape. Water, color, landscape. So then I'll just leave it like that. Once I click away, it's already titled. Okay. So we're supposed to have how many? You guys go ahead and answer for me for that. For those of you guys that stayed. How many total in here? For those of you guys that wrote down the list? 8? Was that the total? Yes, 8 total. Correct, Ashley. Thank you. So yes, 8 total because of the reference for this one that I did not necessarily include. So here I have 7, which was the other one that I didn't have, the cornucopia. I'm trying to see my folder so that way I can see what I'm missing. I'm missing this one, so I'm downloading them right now because it didn't want to go through. What was the other one? So let me go here and save as. Save. And then what was the other one that I'm missing? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm just making sure that I got them all. So always double check. So save as. And the other one was the water, this one, the jellyfish. Let me go ahead and download this one. That way you guys can see them. And if you want to take a picture, go for it. Take a picture so that way you guys are not lost, okay? So let me close that. And now that I have those, you can see there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Of course, the one that I'm missing, which is 8, is the reference for this. So if, let's just say you guys did not save your reference and you didn't save it on your phone and you're already doing this on your computer, you're not doing this on your phone, what do? Can anybody answer that question for me? So if you look at your folder and all you're missing is your reference and you deleted that photograph, what do? Does anybody, what would you guys do if you accidentally deleted it? Look it up again. Yeah, hopefully you can find it. That's why I tell you guys, don't ever delete anything, you know, just to be on the safe side. So let me open up here and let's go to Google Images. And then once we have that open, let's go ahead and, for this one, her name is Claudia, at least mine, and it's with Interview with a Vampire. That's the girl I I drew. Oops, I didn't forgot the P. That's my, guys, I'm sorry with my dyslexia. I try my best, but it happens. So you can see this is the character that I had painted, and I'm gonna go and I specifically wanna use the same one that I was using. So I have to double check. And I originally used a black and white photograph that I had edited myself. It's this one. And I even changed it. Look at how it's different. Do you see how she's facing the other way? Because when I originally looked up the photograph, I was like, I don't want to paint it exactly the same. So I flipped it, and I want to see if I can find a better one because that one looks very small. I can try to go to related images, but I don't see another one. So I guess I'll just save that one just for the sake of you understanding what to do when you guys get your references. Let's see if this one's bigger. So this one will work. So I'll go here and I'm going to save image as. I'll go ahead and go to my desktop, and it's for portfolio for painting. Save. So I've already saved it there. And so now when I come over here, I've got my reference. And I would honestly put, just so that way it's next to it, back to back, I would title it Portrait Louvre Style Reference. So you know that this is the reference for that one picture, okay? If you did edit, let's say you had it on your phone, because you can tell I edited mine because her, like I said, she's facing the opposite direction. And I worked from a black and white version that I had just kind of ran through a filter. Just because I wanted, I had used it as my profile, if you guys remember on Facebook, one of the profile pictures. So that's the reason why mine's different. But I mean, if you guys did your editing, if you guys changed it up, then go ahead and put the one that you used as you were working on it, okay? Are there any questions based off of what you're supposed to do to have a portfolio for yourselves? And this would be considered an online portfolio, having all your stuff on here, whether it's practices, whether it's a sketch. If you guys practiced it by a sketch, include those. So I'm at a limit as far as the smallest amount of pictures you can upload to me is 8. Can you have more? Yes. If you guys did extra, maybe you did 2 of them. Let's say, Jennifer, you originally did the cornucopia and you didn't like the way it looked like this. And you're like, no, let me start again. But you saved the other one, upload both of them. You know, if you practiced, or let's say you guys did a different style, or you had enough time, because I talk a lot and you guys work faster. And let's say you did 2 landscapes, upload both of them. So this will give you the 100. The more you add, the extra you add, that's your work, the more I'm going to give you on points. Okay. Like I said, the only thing we're not incorporating here is the one we're working on at the moment, because that's going to be considered for the second half since we're not technically finished with it. Okay. But you are going to get an outline grade. So if I said that you guys were missing that grade, make sure you upload it to me right now, and I'll go ahead and I'll give you the grade. Okay. Are there any questions based off of what you guys need to have for the painting class to submit to me for the final exam grade?
Ma'am, that what you told us, that's for the final, right?
That's going to be for the semester exam.